every single use case. There's a whole bunch of use cases. At a high level, I'll explain these use cases and then show you live how some of these use cases, maybe one or two of these use cases. And for folks who want to, know more, you can contact me after the session, and maybe I can answer specific questions that you may have or specific use cases that you're looking for. So we as B2B marketers, we tend to drive prospects who are looking to engage with our product or services to landing pages. For the most part, we have some sort of gated content like analyst reports or ebooks or white papers and try to get users to opt in. We'll show you use cases where how you can get at least 50% more leads from the existing traffic on these landing pages. If you have use cases where you're driving traffic to free trial offers, customers are using Hushly to increase conversions on free trial offers. You probably have contact us pages. We'll show you examples of how you can increase leads from visitors to contact us pages. You have probably demo pages. We'll show you that customers are using Hushly for webinar signups. If you have blogs, how do you get increased conversions from visitors to blogs? If you're doing a lot of ads on LinkedIn, etc., if you're driving a lot of traffic from LinkedIn, you'll see about 40% of your visitors coming in from the phone, and trying to get conversions on mobile is really difficult. We'll show you how customers are using Hushly to increase mobile conversions. Hushly is global, so we'll show you, Japanese sites or conversion in the localized language. Some customers are going off with using Hushly as just a one field form submit. Some customers are using Hushly for brand awareness campaigns where there's really no content being gated, but it's purely brand awareness. But yet in those brand awareness campaigns, they're able to capture leads. Some companies are using us to kind of ungate a lot of the content, yet capture opt-ins. I know this is kind of an eyebrow raiser. How do you ungate content and yet get visitors to opt in? We'll get into a little bit more advanced concepts of how customers using Hushly's bingeable content or self-nurturing landing pages, content hubs, embedded content streams, and like I talked about a little earlier, is how do you use intent data from vendors like Bombora, Sixth-Sense, Demandbase, etc., to increase conversion. Okay. Like I said, I won't be able to get into every single use case. I'll probably touch one or two of these use cases, and but the theme across all of these use cases is there are three vectors that need to come together in order to increase conversions from visitors to any one of these use cases. So the first thing that has to come in is we should lead with value as opposed to the form. So that's what Hushly does. Rather than take a user directly to a registration form to get them to submit information, what if you can give them the content without having to complete the registration form? That is the lead with value concept. Second thing that has to come is you have to make that experience relevant, because if they come in for a particular thing or they're coming from a particular industry, you want that experience to be relevant. And the third is when the content is valuable, how do you get opt-ins by getting that whole experience kind of a minimalistic data capture. So with that said, let me actually show you live implementations of these. I'll show you, I'm planning to show you Palo Alto, which is kind of, how they're able to get visitors to opt in at least 50% more. And then I will probably show you a mobile conversion use case, and I'll probably end with intent data use case. Okay. Let me make sure I'm switching. Just to make sure, Janice, you're able to see the screen, right? No challenges there?
Yes, I can see the screen.
All right, cool. So this is a traditional landing page of Palo Alto, nothing fancy here. They're driving visitors to a landing page for a research report, and they're trying to get visitors to complete 4 or 5 pieces of information to get the research report. Unfortunately, as you may know, 97% of visitors, once they see a registration form, they abandon and walk away. Okay, so what this particular use case is, how can you engage with those 90% of visitors who are electing to walk away and get some of them to opt in? Okay, that's what I'll showcase here. No change in existing landing page, everything being the same. What they've done is they tag this particular landing page with the Hushly tags. Most of our customers are using some sort of tag manager like Google Tag Manager, etc. They put the tag on the page, right? No change in infrastructure whatsoever. What the tag does for us is it does a few things. The first thing it does is it detects when the user is walking away. The technology to detect when the user is walking away is not unique to Hushly. Okay, what's unique to Hushly is what is that user experience that we offer the abandoning visitor before they leave the landing page. That is unique to Hushly. Okay, so now we're non-intrusive. The user can be entering information on the form, for example, or they could be clicking on any link. They can be on this page for however long they want. We will not engage with the visitor. We're only engaging with these visitors when they're walking away, because the only other option we have if the visitor walks away as marketers is to run some sort of retargeting program, right? And as you know, the industry average click-through rate for retargeting is less than 0.1%. So the probability that user who's on this page would come back is low, and sometimes in the future. So we are saying if the user's on the site, they're not on some content syndication site, they're on the Palo Alto site. Before they leave, what we're doing is we're monitoring the mouse. So watch my mouse. I'm going to try to move my mouse to close the window, and you'll see the Hushly experience activate. Okay. So just before we're still on Palo Alto site, we're not taking the user away from Palo Alto site, but we got a fraction of a second to engage with these 90% of visitors who elect not to complete Palo Alto's registration form, right? So what we've done is we flipped the interaction model. The traditional model is give me 4 or 5 pieces of information, and then you get to view my content, or in this case, the research report. What we've done is we flipped it. We allow the user to engage with the content that they came for without having to complete a registration form. Okay, that's step one. Step two is we also offer them related pieces of content like the video, the case study, etc. And we can make a lot of these personalized based on the industry they are in, the search they're searching on, or the intent data. That all of this is either based on business rules or on artificial intelligence. We start to recommend content. So what we're doing is we're surrounding the user and allowing them to consume content which is very relevant to them. Okay, that's step two. If the content is valuable, the human tendency is I want to save it, right? That is the human tendency. So at the point of time that they want to save it, we take a very, very minimalistic approach. Okay, we just ask for the one piece of information, which is the business email. We do not ask for first name, last name, job role, title, etc. Right? And we make our brand promise. Our brand promises are pretty lofty. One of our brand promises: our customers will never get a Mickey Mouse lead translation junk lead once they start to use Hushly. Okay. How do we fulfill that brand promise? Quite easily. We have a whole bunch of quality control gates as part of our software to ensure that our customers will never get a Mickey Mouse lead. So let me show you how we fulfill that. So just because I ask for a business email, they're not going to give it to us. They're going to give us something like, let me say, Dennis at gmail.com, right? Now, Gmail is one out of 10,000 odd free email domains in the world and growing. So we have that database. So we check it against our database. If you belong to any sort of free email domain, you don't get access to Palo Alto's content. Okay. Sometimes you would see this. Folks will come in and say, valid email format, right? But the domain doesn't exist. So we do a real-time check against the domain. If you belong to any sort of if you provide us any sort of valid email format, but the domain doesn't exist, we won't allow you in. Sometimes you may see this, folks will come in and say, hey, I'm sales at, say, cisco.com. Okay. These are role-based emails. Now, GDPR, we are the GDPR controllers. We take privacy and security seriously. when it comes to GDPR, CASL, all of these things, role-based emails, opt-in is associated with a person, not a role. So we check it against our role-based database, and you won't get access. Sometimes we can prevent competitors, embargoed countries, et cetera, so we won't go through all of that filter. But let's assume that we go ahead and we submit at, I have a test account, and I'm going to select one of the GDPR countries. Let's select Belgium. What happens here is we always send the user a verification email. And the reason we send the user a verification email is very simple. There's a whole bunch of impersonation going on. I can go as Dennis and opt in on some site without Dennis even knowing about it, right? So we don't, and so what we do is we send the user a verification email, as well as we send that in order to make sure that the user is still employed in the company, right? Because you can give your old company's address. So out here, you would see we'll get the verification email. This is how we verify the person who submitted the business email actually owns it. And if they were US, they'll get full access to the content because US is still opt-out. But since we had selected Belgium, we have to go to this double opt-in process. So here you could see how we, as Hushly, get the users to opt in and consent for Hushly to share the enhanced business profile with Palo Alto so that they can receive information from Palo Alto per Palo Alto's privacy policy. You cannot check this box. You have to, allow the user to check the box. Then they go ahead and download the content and related pieces of content, etc. What we then do is we then append, no, that's the wrong one. We then append all the information that we have about the user, which is the Hushly business profile, first name, last name, job role, title, etc. Right? This is the same piece of information the registration form was attempting to collect. If you ask the user to enter this information, they're going to lie. So we don't believe in this day and age we should ask for this information. We use LinkedIn as a golden record. We validate it against the prospect's LinkedIn profile, and then we publish this via API into the marketing automation platform. So to rehash this, if you look at it, same traffic, same content, everything being the same, right? We are just engaging with the 90% of visitors who elect not to complete this registration form. We give them the content that they came for without having to complete the form. We show them related pieces of content. If they like the content, we take a very minimalistic approach. One field, we send it to the business email. We validate who they say they are. We get the opt-in consent. We enrich the data. We validate it against LinkedIn, and then we publish it. So with this use case, starting tomorrow, if you use Hushly as your safety net for your landing pages, you'll see a 50% conversion lift, okay? So that's use case number one. I can stop, and if there's any questions, I can answer it, or I can go to the next use case. Anyone have any questions, comments? None? All right.
There's one, Geoff, there's one question in the chat from Carla.
Sure.
She asks, does Verify on LinkedIn assume that individuals use their business email on their LinkedIn profile?
No, that's actually a good question. About 80% of users typically don't use their business email on LinkedIn. So how we are able to verify against the prospect's public LinkedIn profile is proprietary to Hushly. So yeah, you don't need to have your business email associated with LinkedIn in order for us to match and verify. Okay, I hope that answers that question. But that's a common question we typically get because users typically don't associate their business email with a LinkedIn profile. Okay. All right, so let me switch to another use case, which is now talking about LinkedIn. You would see if you do lots of ads on LinkedIn and you're driving visitors back, we are seeing 40% of the traffic from LinkedIn is mobile, right? And how do you get users to complete the form? So I'm going to show you. This is This is Financial Force. Okay, let me try to simulate a mobile experience on this. most marketers, what they do is, what we do is we typically make these forms or these pages responsive, right? That's all we do. But when it comes to a user completing a registration form on a phone, it's really difficult. It's like nailing jello to a tree. Imagine somebody coming here and then trying to get this information and then trying to fill up all this stuff, right? It's really, really difficult. So what does Hushly do? If what Hushly does is I'll have to refresh this. Hushly will detect, okay, this is mobile traffic, and in real time, it will get rid of the registration form. Okay, in real time, it gets rid of the registration form, and it inserts a simple call to action which says view ebook. From the end user's perspective, what happens right now is they see no form, right? They just see view ebook, and most mobile users are kind of impatient, obviously bandwidth issues, etc. So what we have done is when they click on this view ebook, all they can view the content, etc., and one field done. Remember, we were on Palo Alto site, right? Now we are on Financial Force, right? So Hushly is a network. We have the ability to pre-populate the user's content, but we cannot share it without the user giving us consent, okay? So this is how our customers are using Hushly's mobile experience to get a lot higher conversion from existing traffic. No change whatsoever, no change in the landing page. Hushly automatically detects that, hey, this is the mobile traffic, get rid of the registration form, make the experience super easy for mobile users, and they are able to get a lot more conversions. Any questions on mobile conversions use case? Anyone on the chat, Dennis?
Oh, questions on the chat.
Oh, okay, cool. So, so then the question comes in is like, wait a minute, if this user experience is better, right? Because we are able to get more content engagement, obviously because they're engaging with content, we'll see at least a 300% increase in content. And since we're talking to content marketers, we build all this content, but we kind of gate it behind. And so if they don't view that content, which is meant to influence the buying decision, what use is that content? That content decays, right? Versus with the Hushly route with lead with value, where we are actually offering the user the content first without having to complete the form, we'll see at least a 300% increase in content engagement, more users standing on the, engaging with content on the site and not leaving, right? So then the question is, why should this experience only be offered to users who are annoyed and walking away? Why shouldn't this be the primary experience, okay? That's exactly what we talk about with what we call self-nurturing landing pages, okay? So let's, if you look at this landing page, you know, we call these dead-end landing pages, and no disrespect to any one of our fellow marketers, but typically what happens in this type of landing page is, you know, we get users to complete this registration form and they get one piece of content and they kind of have to wait for the next piece of content to be delivered to them in some sort of cadence through some lead nurturing campaign. So maybe they have to wait for a week for the next piece of content, right? So what we are doing here is saying, hey, instead of the user waiting for the next piece of content, why can't they start to consume content at their own pace, kind of self-nurturing it, right? So that's what we call self-nurturing campaigns, which is essentially kind of like Netflix. You viewed one episode, you liked it, you want the next, you don't want to wait, right? You want to continue to binge on it. So I'll show you an example of what's called a self-nurturing landing page, which is, this is the primary experience. And using this, you will see even higher conversion because now you're not engaging with visitors who are annoyed and walking away. This is the primary experience, right? So I'll show you an example. This is Sage Intact. Look at this landing page. It doesn't really look like a landing page, like a traditional landing page. You get them directly into the content that they came for, okay? You can, in this particular case, the Sage Intact is actually using intent data, and I think in their case, they're using 6 Sense. So Sixth Sense is telling Hushly, here are visitors that belong to a particular segment. And then Hushly is taking that information and saying, all right, what is that piece of content or to make it relevant? So in this particular case, we know that this particular user is coming from the healthcare industry. So we're starting to offer content very associated with healthcare, like HIPAA and et cetera, right? So we get the content here, okay? And same concept, one field if they want the content. And like Netflix, you give them the ability to, get the next piece of content, in the stream of content. So the users here are more educated because they've consumed a lot more content quicker. So what we're seeing is these Hushly leads, when they're actually not only talking about conversion at the top of the funnel, how are these leads, Hushly leads, converting into opportunities at what rate, and what's the dollar size, the Hushly lead versus the non-Hushly leads, and what is the time it takes to close, right? The velocity of the close. We're seeing for all our customers who are actually measuring this, they're not only seeing increase in conversion from existing traffic, they are seeing increasing in conversion from contact to opportunity stage, right? The rate of conversion is really, really good. They're also seeing opportunity dollar amount being higher, as well as the time to close being shorter, okay? Same concept here. One field, offer all the pieces of content. The content is interactive in the sense that the viewer can engage and view the content, but they cannot save it. Okay, so these are kind of very simple use cases that our customers are using to increase conversion from existing traffic on the landing pages, right? So I intended to show 3 use cases within the 15 minutes or 20 minutes that we have. Obviously, we have about 15 other use cases that we won't be able to get in, but the whole concept is the same. Offer the user the content without having to complete the registration form. Second, make it relevant and personalize that experience based on who they are, where they are, whether it's based on firmographic information, demographic information, intent data information, whatever you have of that user, whether it's rule-based or AI-based, make that relevant. And the last but not the least is take a very minimalistic approach, just capture the business email, that's what we do, and then we enrich it, validate it, get the users to opt in, and then we publish, okay? So I hope I covered those 3 use cases. I hope this is helpful for everybody who came here to take a look at, how some of the largest enterprises are using Hushly's technology to increase conversion from existing traffic. Any questions from chat or any comments from anyone?
We have a question from chat, Geoff, which I'll read in a second. I had a question on this particular demo first. You were talking about intent data, like on this example, you're saying you could detect, like, let's pretend it's me. You can detect I'm from healthcare. Mm-hmm. You can also, with your integration with the intent providers, is there a way that based on where that I'm coming in, that I have, like, I've been searching for a given solution recently?
Yeah. So a lot of the intent vendors provide us a whole bunch of data attributes about you or the company, or the searching. Like if you have many people from your organization searching on a particular topic, you'll have like what's called a search score. So we could know, hey, you're in market. So in that particular case, you don't want to offer top of the funnel content. You may want to offer bottom of the funnel content. So yeah, so whatever we are able to get in terms of signals, we are able to take the signals to personalize that experience. But step 1 is give the user the content without having to complete the form, right? That is step 1. Step 2 is make it as relevant or hyper relevant that you can. Some of our marketers is when they're running ABM campaigns, etc., they want to create these content hubs or very specific ABM specific programs. So we have a lot of those use cases as well. So if they're driving, say, IBM, right, it's very, very specific to the division in IBM, and looking at the buying groups and, people with particular roles and divisions, right? And they start to offer that content. So it's hyper personalized, right? So the more more personalized. In this case, it's personalized to the extent of the industry, which says healthcare, so it's starting to show healthcare related content. So the more personalized you can become, absolutely you will get more conversions because it's more relevant.
Okay. So there's a question from Tony, which I think was earlier when you were showing how we went from Palo Alto to one of your other clients.
Yeah,
Tony's saying, how are you doing the cross-domain identification? Are you using an identity resolution provider like LiveRamp or Hexacom?
That's proprietary Hushly.
Okay. Proprietary meaning you're able to
our technology, Hushly's technology.
Right. Okay. I'm assuming like you're cookieing the user, so when the user goes to another advertiser's page, you know
so a lot of this information is we only show it to the user. We don't show it to our customers, right? This is only visible to the user. And if the user chooses, we're trying to make that user experience the very best, as much as we can prevent the user to entering information multiple times across. So if you think of a security persona, right? That user is not just on Palo Alto site, they're on Semantic, they're on Checkpoint, they're on Foursquare, they're on all of these sites, right? So we are powering a lot of these sites. So obviously we know who the user is, but we cannot share that information till the user gives us unbundled explicit consent, then we can share it. If not, we can't. So Hushly is, has the network effect of having, power tens of millions of these interactions and a large database of contacts. And so we don't need the user to enter this information. So that's why you see a lot of these enterprises, et cetera, that say opt-in, GDPR, CASL, all of this has become really, really, really more and more challenging to get visitors to, opt in. And so they're starting to use Hushly and saying, you guys have a better user experience. You go help us get these opt-ins. We'll take our traffic and get us more opt-ins. And we are quite easily able to, with the same traffic, same content, much better user experience, remove that friction, and we're able to get a lot more.
Cool.
Does that answer your question, Tony?
Yes, it does.
All right, cool. Is there any other question?
There's nothing in the chat, but I had a question for you out of curiosity, since a lot of your customers are using ABM. And a lot of companies are now finally hopping aboard the ABM bandwagon. What are the best ABM campaigns doing right now from what you've been seeing?
So the ABM challenge, when they come to us for ABM, they come to us in terms of trying to get coverage, right? So if they have a buying committee and they are looking for roles and divisions, they don't have coverage, right? So most ABM companies are, if campaigns, right, they're either outbound through an email campaign or they send the BDRs to call these folks, which is, again, a telemarketing tactic, or they run a display campaign like, Terminus or Demandbase or Sixth Sense, a lot of trying to drive traffic to these landing pages, right? But the challenge is that last mile. Once you get, all roads leads to the website or the landing page. And when you come there, how do you get the user to opt in, right? Because without opt-in, you can't really, nurture that prospect, right? So that's where they come into us. And so we know, okay, if this is a particular ABM campaign. So for example, let me show you an example of an ABM type of campaign that is slightly different use case. So this is, these are called content hubs, but they're going after specific roles, right, within an organization. So this is secure.checkpoint.com, and then they're sending them to content streams, and within the content stream, they're offering, content experiences with related stuff. But now they get to know who from that account came in, what content they engage with, how long are they spending it, what content actually was influential in getting them to move to the next stage. So there's a lot of content analytics from an ABM perspective that our customers are using, but they're using us as destination to kind of configure these landing pages or these hubs. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Just got a new question from Jessica. Do you integrate with Marketo?
Yeah. Most of our customers are in the mid to large enterprises are either Marketo or Eloqua. Those what we see in the smaller cases we see some combination of Pardot, HubSpot. But I would say most of our customers are marketers. So when we do an integration, it's seamless. We are able to map all the Hushly fields into the marketer fields, right? And we can do, field level mapping. We can do list of value mapping. So say Hushly has what is called like Chief Executive Officer as a title, but maybe the organization from an MDM, as these are enterprises who standardize on, like maybe they call it CEO as a title, we can do that mapping. We can pass all the attribution data, right? So where did they come from? All the UTM parameters, campaign source, medium, type, all of that gets passed through any cookie values, any hidden fields. There's a lot of, we have a lot of enterprise customers, so we have a lot of types of integrations with these enterprise customers. And whether it's a marketer also has within their thing, they have what are called clusters or segments. We can, we have integrated with those. So yeah, short answer is yes. Who asked that?
Geoff, you said who asked it?
Yeah.
Jessica.
Hey, Jessica. So did that answer your question, Jessica?
Yes, thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
If anyone's interested, did you want to talk about how your pricing model works, or should they just get in touch with you or your team?
Yeah, so we kind of put our money.
Hey, Geoff, there's a question about Uberflip, how we differentiate from Uberflip.
Oh, okay. That's quite easy. Let me show you. It's on our website as well. So there's multiple ways. There's primarily three ways that we differentiate from our competitors, okay? If you're asking for, how do we differentiate from Uberflip, it's here, right here. Okay. So if you look at it, we do end-to-end aspect associated with conversions, right? We not only do content engagement, content activation, content hubs, which is essentially an area that we have an overlap with Uberflip, but more importantly, when it comes to lead capture, lead enrichment, we don't believe in registration forms per se. So if you look at our competitor, like an Uberflip, they will do that, but when it comes to lead capture, they're back to the form, right? Which is the friction point. So once you put up a form, one or two things going to happen. They're either going to walk away or they're going to enter Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, okay? So we have a lot of these capabilities. From a breadth-wise, we have a lot better breadth. So we provide the end-to-end solution versus Uberflip. You will have to do, they'll provide one part of the equation, and then you'll have to figure out the other part of the equation, right? They don't do the enrichment. They don't do anything on the lead capture, lead enrichment side. Second thing where we're different from Uberflip is we're a network, right? So we're not the tool. So if you go with Uberflip, you just, the tool on your site, that's about it. Whereas you could see with Hushly, you're part of the network, right? So you get the network effect. And third and more important, I think, is for marketers is our business model. We do not charge for, platform fees or professional services fees or branding fees or the number of pages or the number of users, number of streams. It's unlimited. We do not charge. All of that is, we give it away, okay? What we charge is we only charge for the leads that we're able to produce, okay? It's pay for performance, and we strongly, we have 100% success with this. So we're very, very confident on the ability for us to generate these leads, which is the highest quality. And those are the three areas that, we compete or we differentiate with any of our customers. We don't know of any competitor who has a business model like we do, who has a network like we do, and who provides the end-to-end solution like we do. Who was that asking that? Do you know?
That was Tony.
I'm sorry, I didn't get.
It was the same Tony that asked about the cross-network.
Hey, Tony, did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Then Tony has another one. Tony's like the kid in class that keeps asking questions.
Cool.
Tony wants to know, does Hushly host the entire landing page or just the form?
Very good question. So in the use case where, let's take a use case where, this is Palo Alto's landing page, right? We do not host anything in this particular case. So if you have your own landing pages, this is the beauty. This is another area that we differentiate from our competitors. Most of our competitors will say, if you want to use our software, you have to use our platform, right? You have to use our landing pages, etc. We don't. This is an area that we did. This is another differentiator. And we could say, you have your landing page, great. All you do is put a tag on the landing page like I showed you, and we will engage with visitors who are walking away. It could be a tag on a page. It could be a link. So we can activate on click. Let me see if I have an example of, hold on one sec. Maybe if I switch into this mode. So this is an example. This is pure storage, right? This is slightly different use case where, let me see it. Is this the one? I may have activated it. No, I couldn't. That's not the one. Let me see. All right. This is another example of, this is Sage Interact, right? Like I said, the Hushly experience on your landing page can be activated on different trigger points. The one that I showed you with not checkpoint, actually Palo Alto, was when the user was exiting, right? But we can activate on somebody clicking on a link, right? So you click on a link, there you go. We activate with Hushly. It could be based on a timer. It could be programmatically. It could be, there's several different types of use cases in terms of how the Hushly experience can be activated. It could be embedded within the page, right? There's a lot of use cases. The one use case where I wanted to show you one form, this is vendor neutral. What they're using here is saying, hey, Hushly, you be my capture, right? This is a download profile link. Click on it, one field, done, right? So there's different kind of use cases, but we are not hosting any one of these landing page, and this is an area that we can operate in, and some of our competitors can't operate. So we designed it that you don't have to change anything in your existing landing page. Now, if you want to use Hushly self-nurturing landing pages like the ones that I showed you, in this particular case, this one, it's your subdomain. This will be similar to our competitors. If you want to use self-nurturing landing pages, yeah. But you could also take what I call embedded streams, like that's Hushly's landing pages, Hushly's content, and embed it in your landing page. For example, let me show you an example. So this is, think of this landing page is Tipalti's, right? This is the thank you page, right? This is slightly different use case. Look at this, right? Recommended content. Where is it coming from? Hushly, but it's on your landing page, right? So there's several different permutations and combinations where Hushly can be used on your existing landing pages, or if you want to use Hushly's landing pages, we can support that. I think I hopefully answered Tony's question.
And Geoff, if anyone's interested in getting in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Reach out to Geoff@hushly.com or info@hushly.com, or do we have sales@hushly.com or anything like that? Yeah. Or go to Hushly. I mean, and just there's a demo request. Complete that form, and somebody will be in touch with you. There's, like I said, I don't have time to complete all the use cases, but every single use case that you use, you will see increased conversion, and we guarantee that, right? If you drive the traffic, we will be able to capture a lot more leads from existing traffic.
Excellent. Any final questions?
Any comments?
Or comments?
Was this helpful for the group?
Feel free to use the chat to let us know. Very helpful from Carla. And thank you. So yes, getting some thanks. Yep, Tony, Geoff talked about pricing. I'm going to make the recording available so you can watch the recording for info on pricing. Connect with Geoff on LinkedIn. There's a link in there to his profile.
Let me show you one thing about pricing. These are industry benchmark numbers when it comes to the cost of acquisition, depending on which channel you're coming from, right? Google Ads, for example, if you're running, the industry average conversion rate for Google Ads is 3.04%. That is the industry average. So if you're trying to capture an email, right, of any sort of email, it's $116 just because you need 30 clicks in order to somebody to complete your form. Now, if you're trying to get a business email, it's around 246 bucks, right? It varies from channel to channel. Hushly's pricing is anywhere between $5 and $20, right? So if you're already spent your time and money and they're already there, and if we're able to increase it by 50%, your overall cost per lead is going to significantly decrease, right? And we only charge you once we go through that whole process. So you'll be paying $5 to $20, depending on what type of lead you're getting. And that's what it is. So we'll always be a fraction of your current acquisition cost, because if you don't have Hushly, your next lead is going to cost you whatever it's currently costing you. Assume it's $100, your next lead is $100. Versus with Hushly, will significantly reduce that acquisition cost. So hopefully that gives a little more color to Tony's questions about cost.
I would hazard a guess that it does.
Yeah. If the group has any additional questions, we'll be happy to answer your questions. We love to have interactive. If the group has suggestions or ideas of what they have done to increase conversions, I would love to learn. Obviously, we don't know all the answers, but if you've done something in your organization that I would love to learn what you've done, what has worked. Because whatever has worked, if we can productize it, we can probably help other marketers as well. Okay, so we are working with a lot of these marketers, and we're getting a lot of these inputs, and then based on that, we're making Hushly better and better. At the end of the day, we want to make the prospect user experience the very best, and if we can make the prospect user experience the very best, our customers will benefit from it, and the byproduct of that is Hushly will benefit as well. So that's kind of how we roll.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us today, Geoff. And to everyone out there, thanks for joining as well. We're back next Wednesday, I think, is our next meetup. So I'll be ending the meeting. Everyone take care and stay safe.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day.